Oh, happy Friday. Welcome to a live Kerfefe break on Deprogrammed with Keri Smith. Today's Friday, August 19th. We're going to have a fun day. I was feeling a little under the weather, and then I started thinking about all the stuff we could talk about today, and some of it is hilarious. So I have some really wonderful guests today. Without further ado, let's bring them on the show. Please welcome Lila Hart, comedian Lila Hart, who you guys request often. I get so many compliments about you.
Aw.
What a little spitfire you are.
Well, I'm excited to be here today with all y'all.
And it's your first time appearing with Dangerous Rhetoric. Daniel and Brently. You have so many names, like you said before we started, on Twitter. Can you guys just remind people, if it's their first time meeting you, where they can find all of you online?
Ladies first. Go ahead.
Yeah, ladies first.
Oh, you guys can find me at Love Lila Hart and then lilahart.com. That is LILAHART. That's me.
You can find us at Dangerous Rhet on Twitter. On Instagram, we are Dangerous Rhetoric. If you want to find my personal account, it is at Dan Delafay, and Brent is at Copopolis. You spell that.
I'm not going to spell it. It's fine. You guys can find me from the Dangerous Rhetoric page if you need to find it.
Yeah, it's on our bio, so you'll see both
if
of
you
our
just
pages.
Search for, you can search for Brently Plus too, the plus sign.
And just search Dangerous Rhetoric on YouTube, and you'll find our channel as well. Subscribe. We need it.
Oh, maybe we can get you guys over 1,000 today.
1,000. Come on, let's do it, guys.
Let's do it, guys. Dion says, I'm so excited. I love these guests. Me too. I think you guys are going to vibe well. That's my favorite thing about Fridays is having different people on sometimes where you're like, oh, they love each other. We'll see.
I'm glad we're on with the comedian. I feel like I need that. It's been a rough couple days, so I need like some laughs.
Yeah. Well, we're going to try and find some levity today. There's a couple of things I wanted to talk about, and then whatever's on your mind, we can talk about it. So, should we start with one of the things everybody was talking about this week? Sam Harris?
Jump into it. So I didn't really get to catch up on exactly what happened with this. So you guys are going to have to fill me in as well, because I'm not that sure.
Keri. Yeah. Keri can maybe give a
Sam Harris exactly. Well, say now.
You know what would be easier? Let's just watch a clip. So he did an interview with the Trigonometry guys, who I love. Those guys are really great at interviewing and like letting people just talk. And at one point, he said this. So
at that point, Hunter Biden literally could have had corpses of children in his basement. I would not have cared, right? It's like there's nothing. First of all, it's Hunter Biden, right? It's not Joe Biden. But even if even whatever scope of Joe Biden's corruption is, if you can just go down that rabbit hole endlessly and understand that he's getting kickback from Hunter Biden's deals in Ukraine or wherever else, right? Or China. It is infinitesimal compared to the corruption we know Trump is involved. It's like a firefly to the sun, right? I mean, there's just it doesn't even stack up against Trump University, right? Trump University as a story is worse than anything that could be in Hunter Biden's laptop.
What?
Right? Now that doesn't answer the people who say it's still completely unfair to not have looked at the laptop in a timely way and to have shut down the New York Post's Twitter account. Like that's just a conspiracy. That's a left-wing conspiracy to deny the presidency to Donald Trump. Absolutely, it was. Absolutely, right. But I think it was warranted, right? And again, it's a coin toss as to whether or not
Sam, I'm sorry.
That particular piece.
I'm really sorry. I was the one that said we should move on, but you've just said something I really struggle with there, which is
the kids in the basement.
Fuck the kids in the basement. I'm interested in democracy. You're saying you are content with a left-wing conspiracy to prevent somebody being democratically re-elected as president.
Well, no, I'm content. Well, but the thing is, it's just not left-wing, right? So Liz Cheney is not left-wing, right? Liz Cheney is doing everything in her power.
You're content with a conspiracy to prevent somebody being democratically elected.
But there's nothing conspiracy. It's not. It was a conspiracy out in the open. But it doesn't matter if it was. It doesn't matter what part's conspiracy, what part's out in the open. I mean, I think it's like if people get together and talk about what should we do about this phenomenon, if it's like if there was an asteroid hurtling toward Earth, and we got in a room together with all of our friends and had a conversation about what we could do to deflect its course, right? Is that a conspiracy? Like some of.
Yeah, it is. It is a conspiracy. Wow! Holy shit!
So,
Oh my God.
I want to hear what you guys think about this, but my immediate thought was he's justifying evil means because he thinks the ends are good. He's saying, look, I'm up here. I'm smarter than everyone else. I'm more moral than everyone else. So are the people in the media and big social. And we decided to do something evil, censor and suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story to make sure that this bad thing didn't happen, that Trump didn't get elected. And so you're putting yourself up here, dude, like God, right?
So, Trump's a meteor, apparently, guys. Just so you know.
Yeah.
He's a meteor. To hear him say that the university scandal was worse than the laptop incident and all the stuff that was reeled with the Ukraine kickbacks and all that, wow, I don't even know what to say to something like that because they are not even in the same freaking ballpark, not at all.
Well, to even say that of like we can't even what the Hunter Biden, it's all bad, but to justify it by saying, well, this thing is worse is not. It doesn't even make any sense to me at all. And I think that's what's really I think is like just so disturbing about our society right now is that like it's just it's okay that the president's son has done all that evil stuff. That's totally fine. When it's like this should be the number one story and. The whole election was stolen anyways. But.
And we're off air.
About to get demonetized.
We can't say anything about that. So no, the big problem that he seems to have is that he doesn't want to acknowledge his own bias.
Yeah.
Comparing Trump to a meteor that's on an imminent course to crash, guys, come on, really? Yeah. A meteor? And then on the other hand of it, totally dismissing the Hunter Biden thing because, Hunter Biden's Joe Biden's son. Hunter Biden's not the president. Hunter Biden is reflective of Joe Sr. and the kind of care that he's going to provide to us as a nation. If we look at, Hunter's not doing so good. Hunter has drug problem. Hunter has serious legal problems. He's got corruption issues, possibly with the CCP, possibly with Ukrainian businesses and corrupt oligarchs in Ukraine. Hunter's not doing so great. So if he's an indication of how a father treats his son, if this is any indication of how Joe Sr. is going to treat us as a nation, it's totally relevant to the conversation. And then further, like the whole sex scandal stuff, I think is really the red herring. That's the deflection. It's like, let's talk about the sex scandal and his drug problem, because that makes him a sympathetic character versus we talk about the corruption, especially during Joe Sr.'s VP days under Obama. He flew Hunter on Air Force Two over to China to seal a business deal with the Chinese to get a forgivable loan from a CCP-connected bank to Biden's family, his business interests. So there's a lot going on here that just seems to be swept under the rug. Sam Harris, I would expect him to know these details. I'm just some podcaster. I'm not, an author, an intellectual powerhouse like Mr. Sam Harris. So I would presume that he would be aware of these details, but it just seems that since they don't fit with the narrative, he just kind of just sweeps
I think there's cognitive dissonance going on with him. Like he can't allow himself to praise Trump for anything, to like Trump for anything, and that's what it comes down to with the people who really, really can't stand Trump, is that it's not enough that I could not like him, and I don't really like Trump that much as a guy, to be honest, but I have a lot of good things to say about him as a president. It doesn't matter if you like him or not. You have to be actively hating him. That's how these people are. You must be actively hating him. And if you are not actively hating him, you're part of the problem. And Sam he's afraid of being canceled. That's what I get from him. That's what I sense. is that he's trying to dance between the two lines. And yeah, see, I can talk to Jordan Peterson, but look, I'm still liberal and I'm still like woke and stuff.
I still go to the cocktail parties.
Go to the cocktail parties.
I think that's part of it, wanting to be part of that elite club. But I really think there's something going on here with him. When I posted about this, I was thinking about it. He makes me think of Daenerys, the mother of dragons, in the last season of Game of Thrones, when she decides to set fire to a whole city of innocent people because the ends justify the means. And then there's that conversation with Jon Snow where he's like, well, why do we get to decide she's like, you and I get to decide what's good. And he goes, what about everyone else? Don't they get to decide? She's like, they don't get to choose. And that's him. He's saying, like who gets to decide that the evil of, in this case, Trump being elected again is so great, like an asteroid coming to Earth, that it's okay that we break these ethical rules and these moral rules and we suppress and censor because we want to protect from this great evil. Who decides what that great evil is? Why is it him? Yeah,
it's a good question. Who does get to decide?
I think he thinks he's God.
I mean, that's a good way to put that comment about the bodies, like, oh, he could have dead children in bodies in his basement. I wouldn't care. That's
literally. He used the word literally.
Literally,
he could act like as if, and I think
he's telling the truth.
It's like, it just blows my mind how easily.
That's pathological to me. Like I get what he's saying. He's just really trying to emphasize his point. Like, I would have voted for him no matter what. But you're not making yourself look good if that's the example.
Also, I feel like.
I was going to ask you. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry. What were you saying? I talked over you, Brently.
I was just saying that he sort of stumbles over his words in that clip. Like, it doesn't. He seems to not have it very clearly enunciated. Like, he's kind of like, you can tell this is not something that he likes to think about too deeply because he's sort of scatterbrained and he has to kind of explain himself over and over again.
Yeah, I think so. Lila, I was going to ask you. What do you think about the comments about, because I know you're a person of faith also. Do you think this, when I look at this story, I'm like, this is one of the pitfalls of not having something higher than yourself?
Yeah.
Because,
I feel like we have like a moral issue in this country too. Like the fact that he's even just saying like, oh, he could have bodies in there, I don't care what he's done. It's like, aren't we supposed to hold these politicians like at a higher standard? Like a higher moral standard of being just like a basic good person. And I just read a comment. Somebody said that Trump is the meteor and Biden's the dinosaur.
That's kind of funny.
That's
a good one.
We do have a super chat from Pirate Tomskis here today. Our mod giving a super chat of 10 pounds. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pirate. He says, to be clear for YouTube, the election was the best free and fair election in history ever YouTube.
Free and fair.
Totally. Nothing shady at all. Nothing suspicious. It was the most secure election I've ever seen in my life.
Make sure you get out and vote.
Another thing too is like the fact that he could so openly, like publicly say this on a podcast and just like have just know it. He was so just blunt with it. Like, that's how he feels. Think about how many other people in this country feel that way. They know that this is wrong, but they just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It's sickening. It's really sickening, but now it makes sense why we are in the position that we're in, is that people know that this was wrong and they still didn't care.
Yeah.
So because they hated Trump that much.
Yeah.
And I just, for me, the worst part really is he's like, well, it doesn't matter if we did that. Like, look at how Trump is. And it's like, can you just at least, you cannot like Trump, but can you also just admit that what Hunter Biden did was also very, very wrong and evil and horrible?
And that the election
like
was...
Trump, but like just admit both. The fact that he can't even say that it's horrible, it's awful, I condemn this, I'm not happy about it. He's just like, well, it doesn't really matter that much because, I mean, look at Trump. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. Like, two wrongs don't make it right. Just like, you can hate, if you don't like Trump, you can also just not like.
You can still have standards and principles which are consistent.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's basically saying, I think he said later in this interview, this was like a once in a lifetime emergency where it was like an asteroid coming to Earth, where it was necessary to suspend your principles against censorship. And again, how do you get to decide?
Admitting too, in a sense that we rigged the election and stuff, but it's fine.
Yeah, but it's also like you're saying that, and we're as a country, it's not going well right now. So it's not. It's so why to say that this was necessary? Well, it's like it wasn't, because look at what's happening. It's really, really bad. We're all fucked. Okay.
What are you talking about? Things are great. Gas prices are through the roof.
We've had a lot of once in a lifetime emergencies recently, haven't we? It just seems a little. When they bring up that justification, I'm immediately suspect, because people exaggerate things in order to be politically expedient. They want to push a political or an economic agenda, and so they exaggerate a threat. We've seen this in the climate debate. We've seen this in all across the board. And most of the time, the exaggeration tends to be coming from people on the left. And the left, that's probably because they're a culturally dominant force right now. And, we need to provide some of that counterbalance to push it back to the other way, because we've gotten to the point where we can't define words like man and woman anymore. And so we need some balance here. Yeah.
I think people originally, I see people in the chat, some saying they've soured on him, some haven't. He was one of these people who was touted as being in the IDW, right? Like the intellectual dark web. And I admired a lot of the stuff he was saying a few years ago. He was criticizing woke. He went on Bill Maher, and he had that famous interaction with what looked like a drunk Ben Affleck, where he was like, where he kind of just intellectually slapped Ben Affleck down a little bit.
His discussions with Jordan Peterson too, I thought were insightful.
Interesting, yeah. But it's that what people call TDS, or that Trump derangement syndrome. They're people can be very awake in one area and then completely self-deluded in another. I think you were talking about this before we started, Brently, a little bit about that kind of, even for someone that you view as, this intellectual who's gotten a lot of things right, they can have blindness in other areas. We saw this during the COVID years with some people like Claire Lehman and people at at Colette who were very awake to what woke is, but not being able to see the authoritarianism inherent in the COVID policies, and sort of just over here, total blind spot.
Yeah, an intellectual blind spot is a good way to think about it. And it's going to be more common in people that have higher intellect and are more successful in their career, because they are just used to being right, and they're used to having their rightness affirmed by their financial or, career or political success. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to be a lot more common in those people. It's going to be harder to reach them too when they do get something wrong, because again, they don't have that humility. They don't have that, like you compared it to having a higher authority. Like if you're very devout and faithful in whatever religion you happen to subscribe to, you're going to have a bit of a humble streak in you. You're going to be a little bit more, maybe I can be wrong, and I can use outside guidance and correction. But for a person like Harris, who's very, science driven, very, data driven, and, kind of in an intellectual bubble and in his own, it's going to be very hard to pop that. And I think when he comes out, I don't think he even thought what he was saying was going to get, special attention the way that it did.
How could you not figure that?
Well, because he has this blind spot, right? Yeah. It kind of presumes that a lot of people are operating under this same, cognitive framework that, Orange Man bad, so bad that we had to, extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. Yeah. But it just wasn't the case. And now he's reaping the consequences of that in terms of, professional accountability.
We have a super chat here that I think relates to the next clip I want to show you guys in case you haven't seen it. ADL, thank you, sir, says Sam Harris's arrogance and his tendency to deflect make him insufferable. He's more vulnerable to groupthink than he's willing to admit. I agree. And there are people who can obviously have different opinions than me on some things that I still admire and respect. Jordan Peterson's one of those. I so greatly respect that man. I disagreed with him about, what was the take that people got really mad about? The Kavanaugh thing. I disagreed with him, but I still, on the whole, it's I think he's sincere. His advice has been overwhelmingly positive and helped so many people change their lives. Sam Harris, for me personally, I just realized I don't like him. He finally moved into that area where I just don't I don't think I would want to hang out with him as a person. Can I show you just this one more clip?
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about here. There is no humility in this next clip. There's no grace for people who have different beliefs than him. I just can't imagine having trying to have a conversation with him behaving like an arrogant 13-year-old atheist. Like,
Can come up, but he's someone who, if you ask him, do you think Jesus will be returning to earth to raise the living and the dead, I'm pretty sure he would say yes, right? And you'd be surprised at the percentage of sober, non-Bible thumping people would say yes to that question. I mean, I've been amazed at the people who I would have bet a lot of money would be skeptical of that piece. They might be Christian. They might be like, listen, I love the Bible. It gives me a great moral framework. It gives my kids a great moral framework. This is the tradition I'm identified with. This is all super important to me. But that's kind of as far as it goes, right? Like, I'm not going to make magical claims about flying saviors who are literally going to come down from where is heaven exactly, given that we have, multiple telescopes up there, beaming back, tens of billions of years worth of information. I'm amazed at the number of people who will bite the bullet on the core doctrine and say, yeah, I think Jesus is going to come back and raise the dead. Right?
But so
it's not that, I'll be clear for anyone watching, it's not that he doesn't believe that bothers me. That's fine. And lots of people who don't believe. It's the way he talks about it with such contempt. Again, like he's up here, and that these people are so stupid for believing in a creator. Like, I don't know. It might just be me.
You got to meet people halfway, man. Like, how do you have real discourse? Like like you're saying, if you're going to talk down to people in this way, like, it doesn't make for good communication. And maybe he should try to understand a little bit more where Christians are coming from and why they believe the things they do. Because I've talked to quite a few, and usually they have very strong, powerful reasons why they have faith. And I think you should listen to those reasons and not just shit on them and like dismiss it.
Yeah, and I also think he's doing a bit of a straw man here. He's giving like the most incredible interpretation of the Bible possible, and then just sort of painting people for having faith in a literal interpretation as if it's as if they're dumb or somehow inferior. When I think the Bible is, I like the Peterson interpretation. It's much more of a poetic discussion of morals and things. It's
power of storytelling.
Yeah, it's a story meant to convey information, and it encodes things in narrative form because that's how you pass things down through millennia and hundreds of years and stuff. He's just just presume that people automatically have a literal interpretation and that they're inferior because of it. Just goes to show like that smug, condescending quality of a lot of intellectual atheists or agnostics that it just is very unappealing, and it doesn't help their case, frankly.
So I look at Christianity and the Bible and such this way. Personally, I think whether you believe or not believe, you should understand what's in that book, and you should understand why it's culturally impactful, historically impactful. You should understand that the very foundation of the West and a lot of our principles and laws, like everything that our society kind of is built around, is very fundamentally built on Judeo-Christian values. And I think, I'm not saying you have to like that or be okay with it, but if you want to understand the context of Western civilization, you must understand the Bible and its importance and its historical value. So in that context, I think that's how I view it. And I do agree with Brent, like Peterson's approach is very much that approach. Like, these are important stories. They have a foundational impact on our entire civilization. And whether you believe in them or not, you need to understand that impact and how it ripples out.
Is this guy an atheist?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Lila,
Why are you listening?
I went to hear him speak in Austin a few years ago, and he is one of these atheists who, as best I can tell, he's one of the ones who, even though he's an atheist, he doesn't believe in free will. He believes that everything we do is every choice we make that we think we're choosing is some chemical scientific reaction we don't understand yet, that it's all like, so in a way he believes that it's all pre-programmed, which I think takes a lot of faith, that it's like, like one of these people who believes that evil doesn't exist, but one day we'll have a science good enough to cure everything that we call evil, that like a woman who murders her kids, one day there'll be something to fix that.
I feel, we should really just be praying for this man. I don't even know why we're talking about him. We should be praying for him, praying for his soul. Hopefully he can come to Jesus someday. And now we know why he's talking out his ass. I'm sorry. I don't think this guy is smart at all. This is awful.
I love having your perspective on him, because you haven't listened to a lot of him, have you?
No, and I wouldn't. He's hard to listen to. Not after those two clips. My God.
He's been around for a while. I heard of Sam Harris back in high school, honestly, because when I was in high school, I had my atheist phase, and I was reading like Richard Dawkins and who's the other guy, very famous atheist, Stephen Hitchens? Christopher Hitchens. I was reading him, and that was around the time when I first found out about Sam Harris. So this was probably 2006, 2007. And so doing this for a while. He's been public atheist intellectual for decades now.
Yeah, but I'm
going to tell you something right now. Yeah. I really just don't understand the whole atheist thing. I just don't get it. It just doesn't make. You don't have to be like a religious person, but to be like, there's no God, there's no nothing. It's that doesn't make sense to me at all. Well, like a higher power, a something. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be God for you, but to believe that there's nothing is insane. Yeah, so I'm not going to listen to an insane person. I don't care how smart you guys say he is. He doesn't seem smart to me.
So when I was younger, when I had that atheist phase, after a while.
Yeah, but you went through a phase. That's a phase. It's fine. You're like teenage angst. Okay.
But the way I came out of that phase was a sort of realization that they are also holding on to a belief system themselves. Their belief system is that there is no God, and they can't prove that just as much as we can't prove that there is one. If anything, I think it's easier to prove there is one, but I'm not going to go into that. The point is, it's a belief as well. And after a while, I came to realize that, these guys are holding on to a belief. This is materialist reductionism. You're reducing everything to just matter, chemical reactions. The only things that are real and that exist are things that we can see and perceive and measure. And I don't know if reality is that simple. I think it's a little more.
I think if Sam was ever in a dire situation, a life or just situation, or something crazy was happening, he would call out to God. I feel like a lot of atheists would, and that's why there is one. Because when shit hits the fan, all these atheists out here, when shit really hits the fan and you're scared for your life, who do you call out to? God. But every freaking person does. It's just innately in you. When you're scared and alone and shit's really going crazy, the last resort, you will call out to God.
But Lila, if he calls out to God,
or your mother,
well, I was going to say,
one of them.
Sam Harris would call out to himself. I do think he would be like,
please save
me, help me. He's so full of himself. Quickly, here's a little interesting tidbit, since you're not as familiar with him, Lila. This might be the most interesting thing about Sam Harris. His mother, Susan Harris, is the creator of the Golden Girls.
So really? I love the Golden Girls.
Me too.
Oh my God, there's a God, okay? Golden Girls is amazing.
There's a God.
There is a God. I love the Golden Girls. Wait, she really created the Golden Girls?
Yeah, but he grew up really wealthy,
I like his mom.
And very privileged and in this sort of elite intellectual kind of class. But all that's because of Golden Girls money, dude.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that makes sense.
So are you guys?
There's no God. There's my mother. She made Golden Girls.
Golden Girls is great. The gay in us is smiling right now. Golden Girls. Are you guys familiar with Gad Sad? He's another.
Thank you for being a friend. Oh, it's so good.
Okay.
So Gad Sad, I think he's also an atheist, if I'm not mistaken. but
Ooh.
Gad's sad.
Jewish.
Is he Jewish?
He's Jewish.
But I don't know if he's a practicing. I don't know if he practices.
Well, I know that's why he had to flee Lebanon.
Yeah, but I think he might, like, belief-wise, I think he might be atheist. But he's also been incredibly critical of Sam Harris and his whole take on Trump. So they've had, like, public intellectual beef on Twitter going on for a while.
Yep, Pirates has called him out.
Gad's Jewish.
Well, thanks for just letting me share those. I quit following him a while back, and then even when I appreciated some of the stuff he said a few years ago, I couldn't listen to him for long though, because something about his voice bothered me, and I think maybe that was just a red flag of my lizard brain was like, I don't like this guy, but I didn't know that yet. I don't know if I couldn't. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, he's
I'm going to pray for Sam tonight, actually. We should all pray for him.
That's a kind thing to do.
Let's just pray for him. We need to pray for these people. But it's okay. This is kind of funny, though.
I've got something else funny to show you. Okay.
Yeah, show us more things, Keri.
Do you guys know who Jeffrey Marsh is?
Yes, unfortunately.
Do you know Lila?
No.
Okay.
This is going to be funny.
Who is this man?
Well, how would you guys describe him?
Oh my god! So this is like a quote unquote like non-binary, I guess, trans.
He's basically
activist.
a feminine gay man who poses as a non-binary trans activist.
And when he speaks, he sounds like he wants to consume you. Like he sounds like
very
he wants
serpentine.
He wants to eat me. When I see him talking, he just looks like he wants to eat kids or something.
When he has this presence that's just very unsettling.
He talks like the snake on the Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Do we have a clip of him?
Yes. Okay.
Let's see it.
Wait, that's not the right one. Hold on.
That was a great comparison, by the way.
Yeah, that's the perfect descriptor of how he talks and behaves.
He is the snake,
from Jungle Book.
Okay, I got the wrong one. Here we go. Let's see. Can you see that?
Not yet.
Okay, this is his latest video.
I've seen him before. I've seen videos of him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No pronouns.
He's huge on TikTok, by the way.
He's huge on TikTok, and he is, let me tell you, he is huge with kids. That's his primary audience, Lila. He's always saying, kids, come here. And he's always telling kids to cut off contact with their family. He's telling, he like draws kids in the same way that Snake in Jungle Book was trying to drag that little, like wrapping around that little boy. He's very much about being an educator for children about gender identity. And I've even seen in a lot of these groups I'm in for parents of trans kids, some people will come in there and be like, what's some good programming I can show my 5-year-old about gender identity? And they recommend this dude.
Oh my goodness. We need to pray for this man too. We need to pray for all those people. But yeah, let's watch him.
Pronouns.
Oh God.
Pronouns. Xenopronouns. Neopronouns. What's happening here? What is this? This video has been requested a bajillion times, which tells me that allies are deeply interested in affirming who we are and understanding our community better. So if that's you, if you're an ally watching this video, or an ally sent it to you and you're an ally, if your ally is doing ally work and wanting to understand, thank you. You're doing the extra credit, and we appreciate it. If you are trans yourself or non-binary and want a deeper understanding about some words that may affirm you, keep listening, keep watching.
He talks like he's hypnotizing you.
Is a part of speech. He and she are the usual pronouns that everyone grows up with and thinking of referring to one person. But of course, they refers to one person as well. Someone left their umbrella. They as one person. But there's more to this story than just he, she, or they. I'm non-binary and my pronouns are they, them. So if you were going to talk about me, you would say, Jeffrey is an amazing author. They are really attractive.
Oh.
They being used in place of he or she to refer to one person, in this case, me, because I'm non-binary. Neo-pronouns, literally new pronouns, refers to the creation of a new word, a neo word, to go in that slot. So a common one is Z. If my pronoun was Z, you would say Jeffrey is a brilliant thinker.
Oh,
Z
wow.
is one of the
Yeah.
most attractive people I've
Yeah.
ever seen. You'd say a lot of things, I'm sure. So that is the creation of a brand new word to put in the slot where he, she, or they would go. Xenopronouns.
Here we go.
Perhaps one of the most beautiful concepts, one of the most poetic ways to approach this subject. Xenopronouns refers to any pronoun a person has that is unspeakable,
What?
that is unworkable in the language of a person. So an example would be a xenopronoun would be a word, I can't even say it, right? Because that's the point. They're unsayable and sort of effervescent and unknowable, kind of like a person's gender. That's why I love this one. So an example would be, a xenopronoun would contain a set of letters that is a pronunciation that a human being can't pronounce. It's some sound that a human being can't pronounce. Or that a xenopronoun contains an image or a concept that it's alluding to that is actually something that language has no way to express. The movement of understanding where non-binary people come from can sometimes take us into very lofty, beautiful, spiritual, poetic places. Thank you for your willingness to understand. And thank you for your willingness to honor us.
Wow.
Honor us. Did you hear that?
What the fuck
That's what it's about.
was that? What the fuck was that?
You know what it is? I think a lot of these people really want to be part of a group, be part of something, feel like the sense of importance. I mean, look at all the views that this person has and all the comments, and think about like how that just like it fuels this narcissistic, egotistical, whatever is inside of this person. You know, this is sad. This is like some serious mental illness. And yes, the snake from the Jungle Book, perfect.
Yep.
Right?
Kind of like, especially like with the eyes and stuff. It's very confusing too, because here's what I don't understand. Can you just commit to one or the other? Because the eyes, I thought his eyes looked pretty, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to give it a compliment.
Give it a compliment.
Well, it's a pronoun you can't say.
Trying to
I
give
think
Bill a
that's really
compliment.
confusing to me. It's just this glorifying of mental illness.
Yes.
And we are really, really lost as a country. I mean, we are so lost.
Yes.
And everybody is becoming famous for really nothing. I mean, this person like 50 years ago would be put in an insane asylum.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and where we should have those insane asylums. I don't know. This is a TikTok's problem. This is, you know what everybody's doing on TikTok? Can I just say this? Because I see it all through scales. It's like everyone's using TikTok as like their personal therapist.
Yeah.
And like this is something that you should be talking to a therapist about, but now it's just like public domain, and it's just like this public. They're talking as if they're talking to a therapist, but now like just millions of people are saying it and commenting on it. And then you have all these people that are like, wow, you're great. Like even me, I said the eyes are pretty. See, now it's gonna
Notice how he talked about himself. You know,
that was the best part too. And he was like, brilliance,
is
amazing, most attractive. I'm like, these people are narcissists. There's an undiagnosed narcissistic situation going on here. Very, Oh my gosh. It just, and also then it makes me sad because I'm just like, what happened in this person's childhood? Where were their parents? How was this created? You know, that's sad. And it's
So
really,
he has been open about how he cut off contact with all of his family. He's got another
that's that
video
right there. This is why family is important. This is what happens when you just go full on rogue in the world. Now he's leading people astray.
Yeah. And maybe he had good reason to. I have no idea what his family life was like. Maybe he was abused. Maybe there were reasons. But he kind of, in some of his videos, Lila, or I don't know, you guys probably saw this more. He's like, I want to speak to the kids. And then he's like telling them about going no contact with their family. And you're like, that's not that's an extreme measure.
Yeah,
you don't just
do.
Yeah.
This is a cult leader.
Yes.
This is like, this is so sad though. But you have to think about it. Every time he gets a like and a comment and a share, that just like fuels his ego and makes him feel good. It's like, that's why they're posting all these videos, and even the negative comments is like exciting for them because it's just any attention at all. And it's very sad. I mean, I don't know.
Well, let me tell you. Well, go ahead.
No, I was like, I wish we could just have him as a baby and like raise him with love, and then this wouldn't have happened.
Raise him with love. See what happens.
And I'm serious. I think a lot of the thing that's what's sad about this is a lot of people just weren't hugged enough as children and weren't given that like love, and now they're just like acting out in these really psychotic ways, and it's very sad. People need to hug their kids more.
Yeah, there's a lot of trauma.
It's trauma. We're literally that's what TikTok has done. It's like it just exposed, and then also it's like there's no shame in society anymore. Like zero freaking shame. You know, this may be a little off topic, but I remember when I was in high school, this girl like sent a nude picture out, okay, and it went all over school, and people were like, "Oh my god, this is freaking horrible." Now I'm on Twitter and I just see a friend's whole ass. Just whole ass is on there, nothing. I'm like, I remember when I was in high school, like this was like, oh my god, mortifying. Now we just got whole ass. Also, I posted a picture with my husband the other day, and my friend was like, oh my god, Lila, I really think it was so cute. You posting pictures of you and your husband. Like, is it your anniversary? And I'm like, no, it's not my anniversary. I don't have OnlyFans. I have only one fan, and that is my husband. And so I want to just, can I like brag about that or post that sometimes? I see whole asses and titties. Y'all are just freaked out about PDA between a husband and a wife. But we can post like full on titty and ass on Instagram and no one bats an eye. But if I post a picture hugging my husband, they're like, oh, is it your anniversary? It's like, no, I want to post my prize. My husband is the prize, actually.
My ass has been on Twitter, so I apologize.
Was it your anniversary?
No, it was a post your ass challenge, I believe.
I blame Toad.
Yeah, you can blame.
Oh my god, but you have to admit, it is pretty funny that you could just isn't it funny how like there's certain things, like I was banned off Twitter for 12 hours because I posted a 2-minute stand-up comedy clip of me performing at Hyenas in Dallas. First of all, the comedy clip was hilarious. Everybody was laughing about it, but then Twitter was like, this is hate speech, took it off, and then I got banned for 12 hours right as I posted this thing about Demi Lovato. I posted that Demi Lovato, she's like all confused now, and I was like, Hollywood's a cult. And as I posted that, all of her fans just went like crazy on me, and then Twitter freezes me, so they're like, yeah, you're gonna get dragged, and now you're frozen, you can't even defend yourself.
Oh shit.
It's horrible. Then they were allowed to say all sorts of stuff to me. They were like, you should have been aborted, and they didn't get banned for saying that. But the best part was my parents were over during this time, so I took a video of my parents and I was like, hey mom and dad, are you happy you didn't abort me? And my dad was like, what kind of question is this? I'm like, people on the internet are saying you should have aborted me. You can say that on the internet and not get banned, but God forbid you post, a comedy clip or say the wrong thing.
Piss off the Demi Lovato stands. Don't piss off the Demi Lovato stands.
Oh my God. It was so wonderful though, because I was like posting videos like as comment back instead of like commenting them. I was like making videos, and then one of their Demi Lovato fans were like, "Oh my gosh, you're so pressed. You're making a video," and I'm like, "Yes, and you should make one back, so I know you're a real person." Then she made one back to like be mad at me, and instead of saying anything negative to her, I was like, "I really love your nails, and I'm really proud of you for showing your face. So I give you props for that, and your nails look beautiful." And then it shut him down, so it was fine.
Yes, some people sometimes you do have to just hit with kindness.
You're so motherly.
It works though. It works.
Well, and then these people were like, "You don't even know Demi Lovato," and I'm like, "I worked for her multiple times. We had a mutual friend who passed away, and she posted about it. I'm in the picture with her. So no, you don't know her. You just have a fan page that's full of her photos, but you don't know her. I actually met her and talked to her in real life, and so frankly, I know her more than you. You're just a super fan." But anyways, like, you don't know her, and I'm like,
You don't know
I
her.
know her more than you, and honestly, you're just pissed because I actually got to be in a room with your idol who you're worshiping like a god.
Like a god.
You are worshiping this person like a god.
It's crazy how people like come to defend these celebrities on Twitter too, like. Because it is like that. It's like
It's
dude,
the
you don't even
same-
know this person. They're never gonna meet you. They're never gonna see your name.
With
Like,
the Amber Heard stands, it's the same with the what's the other one? It just slipped out of my mind. Darn it. Oh, I can't remember now.
But see, that's also the problem is because these people do not have relationships with their families, and they make these celebrities like their families and their gods, and it's just so sad. You know, it's like, okay, you can be inspired by somebody, but to just go like, we're really lost. People are really lost. That's what it is. I feel bad for them.
Yeah, there's a definitely like sort of a rot at the core of our culture in the West. We used to have a sort of Judeo-Christian core, and now it's become this sort of like materialistic, scientific core, and it's morphed into this like celebrity worship thing, and now it's like popularity and financial success is the sort of the highest value, as opposed to like, you know, living in accordance with your, you know, spiritual values and raising a family and, you know, being an active member of your community and sort of spiraling outward in a positive way. We sort of have this weird like narcissistic inversion where everybody wants to sort of self-obsess and self-aggrandize.
so do you think that's because of technology though?
I think there's definitely a technological component, but it's more of I don't know if it's due to technology as opposed to just due to the overarching negative sort of satanic influences that have just been bubbling up over the last, you know, really.
I also feel like, you know, what makes me sad too is I feel like this generation, is it Gen Z or something? They don't know how to talk to people in real life. Okay, I saw this TikTok. It popped up on my Twitter because I'm not even on TikTok. But this girl was talking about how she got off Hinge, she got off all the dating apps, and then she went out to a bar to try to meet people. And then the next clip, she's like crying because she was like, nobody talked to me and I couldn't meet people. And I'm like, oh my God, you could approach them. You could say hi to them. Like, what are you talking about? You know, it's like, I hang out with some of my friends who have like a ton of followers online. We go out to a bar or something and they don't know how to talk to people in real life. They're like literally on their phones. And I'm like, I remember when I was in college, we didn't have Instagram. We didn't have Twitter. I was looking at my old photo albums. Cause did you guys see that trend where it was like posting pictures of you in high school and stuff? Okay. So I was looking through my old photo albums. This is so hilarious. And there's like so many selfies of me, just like, you know, kissy facing. And it's just like all these selfies. And I'm like, wait a second. I actually printed these for myself to put in a photo album, arrange it like Instagram, but nobody saw them except for me. It's so hilarious. I literally printed these pictures. I'm like peace signing. There's like hundreds of them. And I just printed them. Nobody saw them. It's literally just for me. I'm like, what the hell? You know, but it's so funny. That's not how it is anymore. You know, it's like people take 100 photos and it's for the likes and the comments. And I think that's what's really lost in society today is that people, the algorithm is teaching people what to post. They're not necessarily posting what they truly want to post or what they really want to, their creative art. Like, oh, I'll post this because I'll know it'll get a lot of likes, or I'll only post at this time because that's when people are on. So it's like these algorithms are taking away our creativity because we are being like manipulated. We're being manipulated in what to post.
Yeah.
And then also some of these people like Sam Harris or whatever, that atheist demon, and that other demon that we just watched are being like shoved in the algorithm. Like, how is this being shoved in the algorithm to the top? Because it's designed that way. It is literally designed. That's why that snake man or creature is so popular, is because the algorithm is pushing this to the top.
Yeah.
And that is really sickening.
You would be shocked at the parents who, in these groups, who are watching him as some kind of, like you said, God, but I think they view him as a teacher and an educator.
Authority on the
An
subject.
authority, yes. And it's like he's Oprah to them. It's crazy. I just want to show you guys this because this is on. I started looking into xenopronouns. And
this one's not real, right? It's
Yeah,
just like a noise, or
Not real. Yeah, the noise, the unpronounceable.
unpronounceable. So I'm just going to read
facial
this.
expression.
This is how dumb we've gotten now.
So for anybody listening, there's a picture here. It says this is the xenopronoun flag, and it's a picture of a tomato with a human teeth, like a smile in the tomato. It's
Creepy.
It's not a flag. It's a tomato with teeth. But okay. So xenopronouns are a type of hypothetical neopronouns that cannot be understood by humans and or expressed through human language. Theoretical examples of xenopronouns include pronouns that involve concepts that humans do not have words for, pronouns whose meanings cannot be translated into any human language, pronouns that include sounds that would be impossible for humans to make if spoken, pronouns that include movements that would be impossible for humans to do. So you can't sign it either. There's no movement you can do. Pronouns expressed through a form of communications that humans cannot use. No specific examples of xenopronouns can be provided because by their nature, it would be impossible to express.
So it's nothing. It's nothing. You're
It's
describing literally nothing.
It's literally nonsense.
They're literally telling us right here that this is demonic because it's not human. This is a demon. This is a demon situation here. There are demons walking among us. I don't even think that snake man is a human now. I don't know if that's a human being, actually. I really don't know.
Well,
oh my goodness. These are demons.
Yeah, so for those that do use xenopronouns for communication in human language, they may use auxiliary or alternate pronouns or wish to be treated as null pronominal, which I guess means they don't have any pronouns. And then it says xenopronouns are generally considered exclusive to alter humans, otherkin, and alters or headmates within a system. That's people who have multiple personality disorder, now called dissociative identity disorder. So this is people who believe they have multiple personalities in their head. If they have what they call an alter who is non-human, that alternative personality may use these quote unquote xenopronouns.
Mental illness.
It's literally possessed by, like demonic possession, or demonic possession disguised as my alien personality.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. This is we need an exorcist. These people need an exorcism. This is what this is. This is a website for kids.
It looks like it's designed for kids,
I
right?
mean,
Like,
the colors and the graphics look very targeted towards childness.
Yeah, this is it's a fandom.com site, so it's mostly young people who are reading this, and then they have all these different. Now, I'll say something sad because you mentioned how sad this is, Lila. Excuse me. I was making fun of it kind of when I first saw it, and it is funny, and I do think we need to mock stuff like this, but on the serious side, if you read more about xenopronouns, they're targeting autistic kids. They're saying autistic trans kids are more likely to use xenopronouns and try and make it seem like some special thing for autistic neurodivergent kids because they are more likely to have pronouns that can't be spoken.
Just like,
can I just say this? It is really bizarre to me as a person who was born disabled and who my entire high school, middle school, college career, I was really ashamed of my disability. Okay, I tried to hide it. I would try to do everything possible to appear as normal as I could, you know, and really not even talk about my disability. To now see people pulling disability out their ass, literally, and putting and like proudly putting it in their bios, talking about all these like, you know, like listing it off, like the more that they have,
It's their
you know,
identity
the better
now.
of a person they are. And it's like really disturbing to me because when I was in college, I wasn't accepted into a sorority. Okay. My senior year, this girl comes up to me and she's drunk and she's like, I'm so sorry, Lila. None of the houses wanted you because we didn't want to be known as a house with a crippled girl. Okay. I was too crippled for that. Then 2 years later, I'm at one of my first jobs and I see on Good Morning America, this freaking sorority is being celebrated because they let a girl with Down syndrome in their sorority. Okay. But literally 2 years prior, I was too fucking crippled to be in a sorority.
Until it became popular.
Yes, and now it's just like this so popular. And I mean, there's some things to an extent. I'm like, yes, we should have inclusion. I think every building should be accessible. You know, I do believe that everybody, no matter if you're in a wheelchair or whatever, you should be able to come into the building. Okay. But all this stuff that's just going, all these mental, what are they? I don't even know what they are. It's not the same as like being physically disabled. I'm sorry. It's really just not. As somebody who was born with a disability, who was really treated differently, your mental stuff that you're making up, is not the same equivalent as my actual physical disability. Yeah. And the fact that you want to use this disability privilege or whatever it is to uplift yourself or like look like you're such a great person is so disturbing as me as a person who's actually gone through some serious stuff, and I don't want to view myself as a victim. I'm not a victim. So all these people who are like, you know, glorifying this victimhood is so disgusting to me. It's really horrible. I'm still fucking pissed I wasn't in a sorority. Fuck you, bitches.
Lila, that sorority's probably got Xenopronouns going on now anyway.
I'm sure they do.
I agree with everything you said because I think there's almost something disrespectful too about touting your disability as like an identity. It's like people struggle with that, really struggle with that. It's not, and anyone who really struggles with a disability, they're not going to want to tout it as their identity. You know, like you said, you went out of your way to kind of hide this for a while. But so my mom has cerebral palsy. I have direct knowledge of disabilities. I grew up around it. You know, she's in a wheelchair, grew up in a wheelchair. And I can't imagine trying to explain to my mom, like, hey, Mom, there are people on the internet and they, you know, they put their disabilities in their descriptions and this is their identity. You know, they kind of use this to, you know, present themselves to the world. And it's not something she would understand because to her it's like a curse. It's something that, you know, she wouldn't want to fly a flag for, you know.
And that's exactly how I feel. Like, you know, first of all, your mom's a freaking badass. I love that she had you. Like, she's awesome. Like,
man, her sisters both had miscarriages and they were normal. And then someone in her condition, they were like, I don't know, you might not be able to have kids. She had 2 of them, you know.
That inspires me so much and it makes me emotional. So she's freaking awesome and it's so amazing that you're here. Sorry, I'd always cry in Keri's podcast. But no, really, that just like my biggest dream is to be a mom someday. It really is. So the fact that your mom,
it's her number one accomplishment. It really is. Like, she, like, maybe a little too much her life revolves around her kids, but you know,
it's so beautiful. That's freaking awesome.
She was told for the longest time that she really wouldn't be able to have kids and wouldn't have a normal life and a family and stuff. And granted, we had my grandma like stepped in to like be like the third parent because my dad also has disabilities. He's mentally ill, so I needed a third parent to kind of help raise us and stuff.
She did it. She made it. She did it. You know, and you are her greatest accomplishment. You really are. And anyways, I just love that. And I love her. And I want to say this, like, you know, being disabled and seeing all these people like promoting it. It's like, I would not wish disability on my greatest enemy. I really wouldn't. I would not wish spina bifida and what I've had to go through on anyone because you really don't understand disability. Like it's so different when you're in it. And I really wouldn't wish this on my greatest enemy. You know, it's like, what do people say when they're pregnant? They say, I want a healthy baby, right? And even myself as a disabled woman, it's like I pray that my child is healthy someday, that I do have a healthy child. And if I do have a baby that has a disability, I will be the best mom because I'll be able to understand. But I still would not wish to pass this down because it is hard.
It's hard. My mom struggles every day with it still, and she's 60 now, and is still depressed, still feels inadequate, like looks at people who are able to do the things that she can't do and feels less than. Even for a long time kind of envied my grandmother, even though my grandmother helped raise us and all this stuff, kind of envied her because my grandma was able to do the things that she wasn't able to do as a mother. And that hurts her deep down. It's painful, and I don't know what it's like to live through it, but I know what it's like to love someone who's disabled and to see what they go through. And it's fucking hard. It's a battle every single day. It is a battle for her every day. So
she's freaking awesome, and I'm so happy that she had you.
Yeah. So to see the people
I'm so happy she had you. I'm so happy.
I'm happy she had me too, even though life has been crazy, but it's worked out. It's like God balances things out. It's both my parents are illiterate, and I'm the kid who filled his room with 1,000 books and got a writing degree. So it's like I can do a lot of the things that they couldn't do, and it's kind of like the universe is balancing things out, to make up for what they couldn't do.
I love that so much.
Awesome. I'm going to put up a couple. We're getting a lot of chats from people. Maverick, thank you, says I owe Pirate. He said to pay you. Omar says hi. Thank you. Thank you very much. Alex says, Alex, thanks for the super chat. 499 says, with all this pronoun stuff, can I finally identify my white male privilege and still be me? No. You don't get any points for that. Francis Montgomery, thank you, says that if I can't say the gender, does that mean that you're always misgendering them? Yes, actually.
Yeah,
it's a great point.
Oh God.
If you can't say xenopronouns, or like when you're referring to them, you're supposed to just say like over there and that person, and you just like them in silence. But if you use a pronoun, then you're misgendering them.
So exhausting.
It's like this is not a super chat, but I wanted to highlight this comment from Nerdy Girl. She says, "Yes, Lila, either do a bold eye or a bold lip, not both." She's talking about Jeffrey Marsh.
Yeah. Joshua Slocum, I believe, or no, I think it was the great Gusty Winds gave me that advice once.
Ian so forth, thank you, sir. The super chat says, you can't read this super chat. It's just a vibe that can't be expressed.
That was good. I like that.
Too many words, though. I have a couple questions for you guys. Let me get through this one first. Francis, this one I don't want to read because I saw it out of the corner of my eye. I know. Francis Montgomery, thank you, sir. Says, Keri, they finally did it. The Maniacs are remaking the Golden Girls. The abomination is named Golden Girls 3033. It is Golden Girls in the future. I hope you're joking.
Stop.
Somebody look this up. I don't.
Tell me no, it's a joke.
It has to be. I hope so.
I could see like a Futurama-esque take on the subject, maybe.
It's gonna be terrible.
Yeah, it'll be bad, but
like the Golden Palace. Hey, Tracy from Keto and Crime. Tracy's awesome. She's got a show. Actually, Mike Harlow and I got to be on it recently and just have a full-on frivolity episode. We talked about our favorite horror films. She's got a true crime channel called Keto and Crime. Anyway, she gives a super chat and says, question for Dangerous Rhetoric. Do you think that modern gender ideology in trans kids is an extreme form of conversion therapy for gays? I've had this thought.
Well, it is conversion therapy, at least in places like Iran and like Sharia Muslim-dominated countries. Like they do trans gay men because to live as a gay man there is a crime. It's a religious crime, so they can't do it. Do I think they're doing it here because of it? No, I think they're doing it here because I think from the top down institutional level, the idea is we're making money and we're sterilizing the populace. And that's sort of, this is like eugenics 2.0. Like eugenics 1.0 was that they came out and sort of, said that outright, we want to eliminate these traits. These are the desirable traits, and we're going to, strive for this. That wasn't very popular. And, after the Holocaust, it became, almost so politically incorrect as to be, it could ruin your career. So I think what they did is they pushed it underground and they sort of found an alternative way to drive it. And now we're seeing this is the rise of gender ideology, which is why they're targeting children with it.
I don't think it's intended to be conversion therapy in most of the cases that we're seeing here, but that is what it is turning out to be.
Unintended side effects.
Because, I'm convinced that a large portion of these kids who are being trans would have just settled into being gay and lesbian adults.
Well, we know that. We know that from the literature that most children with gender dysphoria or gender non-conforming traits and behaviors end up, high 80% as homosexuals. Yeah. So if these are the people they're targeting for this transition, this medicalized, I actually think of it as a medicalized fetish.
That's a good way to put it.
I'm trying to, grapple with, because a lot of this discussion is through the redefinition and a euphemistic obscuring of truth by the use of, euphemisms and inappropriate language. But, in the gay community, there is this such thing as having a medical fetish, and medical fetish or medical play is the idea of associating, maybe introducing of medical objects or medical procedures into your sexual space. And when I see, adults cutting the genitals and breasts and distributing chemicals to these children, whether it's through injection or oral tablet, that are altering their genital or their secondary sex characteristics that are going to introduce long-term iatrogenic problems like bone density issues or brain swelling and that kind of stuff, I see this as, like sexual abuse of children that's given a medical context in order to be legally passable. And I think we should be very skeptical upon the people, pushing these ideas and procedures, because in the past, like Alfred Kinsey and John Money, their research, was basically engaging in child abuse, child sexual abuse. And they had this whole academic research, scientific coding on it that allowed it to get by without skepticism. When if you break these things down, what are they actually doing? Like if it wasn't a doctor that was cutting the breasts off of children, we would see that as the most gross violation of childhood autonomy and stuff like that. But because it's in a medical context, it's given a pass.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're going to look back at the general trend we're seeing right now in the same way we look at like lobotomy.
Foot binding, but worse than foot binding.
Yeah, we're going to look back at this as it's just the same way as we look back upon eugenics 1.0. We're going to see this terrible thing that they were doing to poor kids in the name of some ideology with just a few very vocal people, at being like, this is wrong. We need to stop this. Like, what are you doing?
It's a subject we cover a lot on our podcast, is because it impacts us in a direct way. As gay men, we're being lumped in with this stuff, and there's a backlash coming, as a result of it. So we feel a need to address it. For those listening now, we have a new episode coming out tomorrow with Eva Kuralova, who's a Canadian lesbian, and we had a long discussion about this very subject. Trans, detrans, growing up gay, bisexual, lesbian, all of that stuff. So be sure to check that out. We went into in-depth.
And I think the work you guys are doing is amazing and so important too, just because it's like, okay, you could be gay and lesbian, but you don't have to cut off people's genitals or, at children. It's just like, it's just kind of like I read some of these things. It's like then they can't even have orgasms or have sexual experiences, and so then it's really just a mutilization.
Yeah. They're also doing non-binary surgeries now, Lila, where they take off the breasts and they don't put the nipples back. Yeah. So they just they do one that's, I forget what it's called, but the layman's term for it is the Ken doll surgery, where they remove the penis, but they don't create the neo-vagina. They just make you smooth down there.
They don't want people to have orgasms.
Or kids.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, and kids.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, to remove the nipple, that's very nice to have.
I mean,
very nice.
Circumcision for
Well
guys.
said.
You know, this is in North America. Like I think Canada and the United States is like the only country that's sort of like just in general. You know, the boys all get snipped. They all get circumcised. You know, in Europe, Australia, you know, in Asian countries, not common. You know, it's a little bit more up for debate. And I find circumcision almost as aberrant as, you know, medicating these children or cutting into them. Like, stop cutting kids. Like, just let them develop naturally. Like, and I think we should enshrine that in law. I think children have a right to a natural and normal development without any sort of additional complications.
Interference.
We're ruining people's abilities to have orgasms in the future, and that is the worst.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's going to make you much more likely to have mental health problems or delete.
I wanted to show you guys this. This is from one of the forums for parents of so-called trans kids. And this one I just wanted to highlight because they like to say that this is not a social contagion, that, you know, it's not like an epidemic of kids coming out as trans now, but that's false. There's been a 4,000% increase in kids who are saying they're trans. This says, hiya, cis queer mom of 2 non-binary teens and 1 trans tween. We've done all the legal name changes for the kids, and now we need to get new birth certificates with their new names and genders. Has anyone done this in blank or blank who could help me with this process? I've reached out to legal aid in both states, but haven't gotten anywhere. What are the chances? Someone calculated the chances for me of having 3 trans kids in one household, and I think it was in the 1 in a trillion chance.
Vegan cat. That's all I'm going to say about that. We know who's making the decisions here. This is
trans kids. Yeah, no, not buying it.
And this is the problem with these things. Like I feel like there is a certain amount of dysphoria that may be naturally occurring, and you know, maybe those people, gender transition does help, and that's what they actually need in order to feel full and complete and fulfilling lives. But we're totally obscuring this now by introducing these ideas to very, very young children who, you know, without that wouldn't have, you know, had any of this introduced. And it's just all.
How do we know we're not creating? How do we know we're not creating more dysphoria by doing
exactly?
Yeah, it's like, but I agree with Brent, and I'm sure there are. I mean, we know there are legitimate cases of people where the dysphoria just does not resolve after puberty. It keeps going for them, you know. And I can't really even imagine what that's like, to feel so wrong in your body, like you're in the wrong one or something. It's probably a really torturous type of experience. So I sympathize, but we need to have that watchful waiting approach, because we have to give these people a period of time to see, will it resolve itself? Because if it doesn't, and then you or say it would have, and then you rushed into these things, you just permanently damaged yourself or that kid that you pushed through these.
Yeah, and I don't even know, like, what is, you know, people say gender dysphoria, it's feeling like you're born in the wrong body, it's feeling like you feel like the opposite sex, but what exactly is that? You know, and I was having a discussion on Twitter earlier today about it, and the way that the best kind of description that I got was feeling an inferiority with your own, your natural, your biological gender, like you feel as an inferior version for some reason. And you identify more with the opposite gender. And it seems that there can be a spectrum of how intense those feelings are. And it seems some of them resolve over time, some of them get worse over time. But there's this whole like big like area of research that's sort of like open, and we can't have honest, open conversations about it, because as soon as, you know, we get into the objective data, or we get into, you know, contrasting positions, people have these huge emotional reactions and outpourings, and, you know, it becomes an ad hominem attack, and all of a sudden the conversation can't be had. So
I think you just made me think of something. I think my friend would be okay with me talking about this. I'm not going to say who it is, but I was hanging out with a friend yesterday who is trans, and who was explaining that that the surgery actually like helped him a lot with that feeling of gender dysphoria. As an adult, made that choice, had a huge impact on his mental health. But one of the things he said that was interesting was he said because of this whole explosion in gender identity disorder, like pushing it on kids, all the stuff that's happening culturally around it now, where it's becoming like a religion, and we're telling kids they have it. And he's like, I don't think that science is ever going to study, like truly try to get to the bottom of why I felt that way. Why did I have that discomfort with my body? Because now it's like a faith. Now, I was just paraphrasing kind of what he was saying, but that conversation made me think about like, yeah, now it's sort of this faith where these moms and all these groups are just sort of saying, well, that's my kid says my 3-year-old says they're the opposite sex, so they must be. It's like a religion now. They just go along with it, and there's no, and it's being presented as a perfectly normal, like there's nothing wrong there, like it's not a disorder, like it's not a mental health issue, and therefore there's no reason to figure out why that's happening to you or to your kid. It's just surgery, medicine, let's move on. I don't know.
Lila, you look like you want to say something.
It makes me sad because it's just like, okay, again, when I was in high school, you could be like a tomboy and people like, I had my making out with my girlfriend's phase, but I also feel like I feel like if I grew up in this time and it was so popular, like how it is, I feel like I would have felt like, okay, I can see how me and my friends at that time would have thought, okay, maybe we're not in the right bodies or something, because it's being so shoved in people's faces, and it's becoming so just normalized. And the consequences of this, I just can't get over the fact that we're sterilizing people and getting rid of their orgasms. I mean, that is just the most, like, that is to me, and getting rid of people's nipples. That is...
Yeah.
The whole thing just makes me so sad, because you can't, like,
it's horrifying.
Gay, lesbian, everybody should have orgasms, but to normalize this to the point so much where I also feel like these parents that are posting about their kids, it's also another way for them to get attention and for them to be like I saw this other woman. She has a whole YouTube channel, and her 6-year-old or something is trans, and then she has 2 disabled children who she puts on blast all the time. And it's just like, I also feel kind of uncomfortable with that as well. It's like, I think about if my parents, when I was getting surgeries, had a TikTok account and were like, oh, Lila's going into surgery now, and this is what's happening, and talking about my medical stuff. I think that would have just been so awful, because you don't have a choice. And it's like they're almost like using their children as,
absolutely,
it's just for their own sick kind of egotistical likes and shares. And
we're calling it Transhausen by proxy.
Transhausen by proxy. They've made an identity out of it. The same way, Lila, you were talking about people, you and Daniel were talking about people making an identity out of disabilities or mental health issues. These moms have made an identity out of being a mom to a trans kid. So how likely is your kid to say, well, it was a phase, if that is how your mom's whole social life, social media, everything is built around it? I'm going to show you guys one more in case you didn't see this one. This one is, she says, cis mom. Oh, sorry, there's a problem with my microphone. Oh, okay, I think it's good. Okay, cis mom of 9-year-old trans boy. He's been confused and wondering the difference between a tomboy and trans boy. So this means a 9-year-old girl, okay? I've been struggling to find a way to explain it that he can understand. His comprehension is probably of a child a bit younger. The main difference I can figure is that tomboys don't suffer gender dysphoria while trans boys do. Am I thinking that? He doesn't seem to be bothered by any aspect of his body. So basically she says her daughter doesn't have gender dysphoria, doesn't have a problem with her female body, but maybe that will come as he gets older. It's like she's wishing for it.
Right.
That's strange.
Wow.
You know what I think it really comes down to is the fact that, like, okay, so you know when children are on like TV shows or something, right? Like there's like certain hours that they can work, right? And like but now you have YouTube, and I feel like it really started with like these family vlogging channels where they film their kids, you know, and their whole channel, their whole money is like imagine you. And people have this, it's on YouTube. It's like they film the child's birth, they film the child's first bathroom, they film the child's first everything. And it's like your whole childhood is on the internet for the whole world to see. And then it's like, and we all watch this, like these family like vloggers, right? And then now it's like everybody kind of wants to be like a family vlogger, like posting. It's like they're not really even creating anything. It's just they're just filming their life, and their home movies are now public.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it starts with that. And then now it's like, okay, how can I be even more different? Like I have a trans kid, and I have a trans disabled autistic child. Look, you know, and it's almost like they're using their children to get this attention. And it's not even, it's very sick. And the saddest part is these kids, they don't have a choice. They don't have a choice to be filmed. You know, and parents are making money off of this, filming their kids, and there's no like, I mean, think about like these just on family vloggers, right? Like there's no cap on the hours. And I always think about what's going to happen when these kids grow up, right? And they're like, my childhood was awful. And their parents are like, no, I filmed it. And they're like, yeah, you edited that, mom. Like you edited my whole childhood. It looked like it was great. You didn't film when you were fucking screaming at me.
It's a total new kind of gaslighting, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah, these kids are going to have issues because think about like if your whole like parents make money off of their children on YouTube, you know, and it's
Lila, did you see that? Did you guys? This was a while back, sometime the past year or two, I think. These influencers, they have two very popular and profitable YouTube channels, the husband and the wife. And the wife does a lot of the lifestyle vlogging that you're talking about. It's all about her kids, all about her kids. Did you see this one?
Oh yeah, they adopted the little boy and then returned him.
Yes, they returned him. So he, all of a sudden, I think they adopted him from China. And all of her Instagram photos, videos, YouTube videos, everything was about her kids. And so he appeared in a lot of them, like all of her other kids. But then they were able to have a natural born child of their own, biological child. And then this little boy just stopped appearing in the videos, and they didn't make an announcement until people were like, what happened? Isn't that fucked up? They said they finally had to come forward and do a tearful video stream together because people were asking questions like, what happened to your kid that you adopted?
Where'd the other kid go? Yeah.
And then they made a tearful announcement where they said, after having raised him in their home like their child for 3 or 4 years, they said we had to rehome him because he had some mental problems that we couldn't deal with. Like,
sad.
I mean, that would have been fine if they were just upfront about it too. Like to just kind of discreetly, like what did they think was going to happen when?
Well, they also raised money to get him from China, so they used their fans to like raise all this money. So like, yes, they raised like a ton of money for this.
And then they rehome him.
And then they rehomed him. But now okay, and then here's what makes me sad. Think about how confused that little boy must be. Yeah. You know, like to be raised by this family and then just to be given, like they're treating these children like they're pets.
Yeah.
You know, and there's no laws to protect these kids on YouTube. You know, they can be filmed 24/7. You know, because think about it, when a kid's on a TV show, there's laws where they can only be filmed for a certain amount of hours. But if the TV show is your home, you know, and then think about when these kids go to school, right? And people can, like, their classmates are in the 6th grade. It's like, oh, I just pulled up a video of you going potty for the first time. You know, like how disturbing that could be. Or I just watched your birth.
Yeah.
Maybe we need.
People aren't thinking about that. And here's the thing. I will say, when I was like 20. When I was in like 21, I would watch these family vloggers and I would think like, oh wow, like this is like really cool. But now that I'm 31, I like think about it, I'm like, it's just kind of like, I'm like was watching these home videos of people, really. And what's going to happen to these kids?
Yeah, I don't know. Also, we're the same age. 1990, baby.
Yeah, 91. I'm 91.
You want? Oh, you're a little younger than me.
She's younger than you.
A little younger. Now, I'll be 32 in a couple weeks.
Yeah, no, maybe in a digital, we need a digital Bill of Rights that ensures, things like free speech on platforms that are certain over a certain number of daily users. But maybe we need to also think about, childhood digital rights. Maybe parents don't have the right to put their children on the internet for videos and clicks and likes in any sort of public fashion. It just seems like because I thank God every day that I was born, in 82. So there was no social media when I was growing up. It wasn't until after I was, I graduated college really in 2005. So social media, it was like MySpace and Friendster when I was in college. So thankfully, none of my childhood youthful goofiness ended up on the internet in any permanent form. And now all these kids coming up today, like everybody has a cell phone that's basically capable of recording anything. Maybe we should think about is this really good for the mental health of future generations if their childhood exploits are able to be uploaded, 24/7 on the internet, profit?
Well, we have to think about, okay, so those kids, like the ones that the one that gave away the little boy, and then you have to think those kids are going to grow up, and then they'll be able to look up all the things that people said about their families, about them, or just because people write comments I don't like that little girl, she's mean or whatever, and it's they'll read all these comments that people are saying. It just blows my mind that people are putting their kids out there as much as they are, and
So
then especially now with the whole trans movement with children. Okay, if your child truly is going through something that would be so scary and hard to deal with, and then now you're going to put them on blast and post their pictures, and then you know what I'm saying? If this is truly something that they're battling with on the inside, because I do believe that there's a 1%, or I don't know, a very small group of people that truly are trans, okay? But imagine if your child is going through that, and instead of actually getting them real help because you love them and you care about them as a parent, you're like, oh, yippee, I get to post on the internet now, and I get to brag about that I have a 3-year-old trans kid or a 9-year-old trans kid. It's that to me is disturbing. That's what's really disturbing, is that instead of actually loving your child and getting to the root of what is going on, you are more interested in getting the clicks and the likes and the clout that comes with this, and wanted to wear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's sick.
It's sickening. People are using their children to kind of feed these egos.
So Laura brings up a good point, though. I want to read this from the chat. She says, then I can't post a picture for my family and friends. It's fraud. And I do think I have to think more about this, because I don't know if laws need to be involved. I don't know if we need a bill of rights.
It's not about
maybe
you can post a picture for family and friends. What I'm talking about is full on videotaping your children and making money off of them. Okay, if you're posting a picture on Facebook for your family and friends, but to really kind of use your children to make money off of that's where it's a slippery slope to me, because now it's not family and friends, it's complete strangers all over the world. Do you get what I'm saying? And come on, these parents know what is going on and how kind of weird it is, and they're acting like they don't. It's no, you do know. You're monetizing your children, and that's where it's disturbing. It's one thing to post a picture of your kid, you want to, but I'm talking about filming them going potty for the first time, or all that stuff, and then being and using it as clickbait. And we see that on YouTube. We have these family vloggers who literally film their lives every single day.
It's just weird.
I don't know.
Jazz Jennings is a case in point. Jazz Jennings was trans in their teenage years, I believe.
Oh, yes!
Male to female.
She was on TLC, right?
Yep. 10 years, decades worth of TV about it. I think, Jazz is in his 20s now. But I believe
they were 17, I think, when they transed.
I think he was actually only 16 when his penis was removed or inverted or whatever. And it was a big source of controversy and complication, because Jazz was on puberty blockers going into his medical transition, and so there wasn't enough penis flesh and genital scrotum in order to create the neovagina. And this is one of the big problems with puberty blockers. It lets you have some of the slimness of some of the female secondary sex characteristics, but if you want to go on to bottom surgery, it creates all kinds of problems. Jazz had famously, I think it was like 5 or 6 surgeries to deal with the complications from the bottom surgery. So not a good thing.
And Jazz does not look happy or look like she. I've watched some of her videos or some of the stuff, and it's like really sad what has happened to her. Or I don't know how she died.
Or him.
Same here. Yeah, it's difficult to know what kind of pronouns to use because these are unusual situations. We're not hardwired for a third gender or alternative genders. We're still basically, as far as our evolutionary period of adaptation, that was all basically hunter and gathering back in tribal situations. So this is all very hard to grapple with, and we should be allowed to have open discussions, like this, where we're allowed to give opinions that may, offend some or may be seen as controversial.
So on this little subject here of how to address, people like Jazz, I don't know, me personally, I would use Blair White's pronoun. I'm bringing this up because I think there are situations, and I think Ben Shapiro had a discussion with Blair about this too, but think about if you were in a social situation with someone like Blair White who is trans, and obviously that that's a biological man, and in your head you're like, you want to call them a he probably, but
I don't though. I've been in this situation with Blair.
Imagine calling Blair a he in a social situation as someone who passes so well as a woman. It would be awkward.
I think Blair, she does a great job. She looks like a she to me. Exactly. So it's like that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, and she did,
That's actually my point about it. I got called I get called everything from a transphobe. I got called a known transphobe yesterday, but I also get called a trans enabling Pharisee. Both sides of the coin. And one of those was because people don't understand. Some people have that hard and fast rule. Some atheists, some Christians, people of different belief systems have that rule of I will never use cross-sex pronouns. I understand and respect that opinion. It's not mine though, and it doesn't have to be mine. And I'll just finish this with, I've been in a social situation with Blair. He does not come naturally to me, and to force myself to say he when I see Blair is just as much mental gymnastics as it would be to force myself to say she to the GameStop guy. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what comes naturally.
That's kind of the point. And that's the thing. It's like a lot of the trans folks who are constantly being misgendered. It's like, well, you don't pass enough and you can't blame
if you pass, then, if you're going to commit to one side or the other, do a good job. And then we will call you what you look.
Well, for me, it's just the sake of not being awkward. Like, even if it's like, even if I had the principle, like, oh, well, I will never use those pronouns because it goes against my belief. Well, again, imagine I'm in a situation with someone like Blair and I call them he. People who don't know who Blair is, they're going to look at me and be like, why did you just call that woman
crazy?
Well, I think the reason it was difficult in this particular case is because I don't know what Jazz Jennings looks like off the top of my head.
Okay.
So I had to actually Google a picture, and I would use female pronouns to refer
Jazz looks
to
like
Jazz.
A girl,
because Jazz passes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about, having your penis removed, I'm not going to say, she had her penis removed.
I know.
That doesn't click.
All of this makes it I don't have any hard and fast rule other than if you're a person who's trying to force things on me, if you're like Leah Thomas, that swimmer, that male swimmer, and you're trying to force things on society and you're trying to force people to pretend that you're a biological woman, no. At that point, even if you pass well, I'm not. I will not, because you're an authoritarian who's trying to control me, and I'm not giving you that respect. Anybody, I had someone got upset with me because I've interviewed friends on the show who are trans. I had my friend Sohaila on, and again, she's someone who she comes naturally to me. And this person, I was trying to explain it to them, and I'm like, I'm not going to come to an interview with my friend, right, and be like, what name did your parents give you? Okay, well, if you won't tell me, we're not doing this interview because that's the name I'm going to call you. You know, like, what are you talking about? That is so rude. And this is a friend. And if they're open to me, I'm sorry, you guys touched a little hornet's nest here because I haven't been able to express this.
Yeah.
But I had this behind the scenes, this kind of conflict with someone. And it's like, I'm never going to treat someone that way. I won't. If this is my friend, they're not Leah Thomas, the swimmer, who's trying to force things on society.
Yeah.
This is a good-hearted person
It's
who's
different.
open to me. I'm going to be open to her. And she knows she's a biological man, like Blair White. She's not trying to force me
That's
to
the
attend something.
difference. That's
you know,
the
like,
difference.
Yeah.
As much as Blair passes, and I will say I would say she, and refer to Blair as a woman, Blair herself is not passing herself off as a biological woman, does not pretend to be, is very, very upfront about that. I am a trans woman. I went through surgeries. I am appearing as a woman. That is the difference. It's the ones who want you to play this mental game.
Yes.
They need you to see them the way they see themselves in your head, and you can't control what's in other people's heads. You know, you can't.
Yeah. And don't try and force me. Yeah, Zato, you get it. Don't try and force me to do anything because that's a non-starter with me.
I still don't want to do it.
Then there's no respect whatsoever.
I don't, we in the gay community, we make a joke out of misgendering each other all the time. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've referred to other gay men as girl, queen, she, sister.
It's normal.
We do it all the time for fun. And it's not something that we find particularly insulting. We just do it. And so when people want to take their pronouns so seriously, I have a hard time with it because, like, I think of myself in a way as maybe I'm a little gender fluid because if I want to be special and flamboyant, then I can talk like this. And it's super, it just strikes me as like, why are you trying to police other people's behavior? And because it's not the reason that you're giving, obviously.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I went on a little rant there. But
no, it was good.
It's okay. I think the subject is important, and it's something I haven't really gotten a chance to talk about yet. But it's like, are there situations where, whether you believe in the pronoun bullshit or not, where it would just be awkward for you to use the correct biological pronoun for someone who passes, and
sometimes you don't even know.
Other people around you who don't know that person is trans, they're gonna look at you and they're gonna be like, "Why did you just call her?"
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Cowgirl Carpentry showed up. Thanks, lady. Gave a super chat and says, I was a dysphoric child who desisted at puberty. I still get little whiffs, but not too bad. I'm an adult lesbian. Glad I wasn't a target in today's climate.
Yeah, could have been, right? That was one of the things we were talking about with Eva. She was very, tomboy growing up. She liked the rough and tumble. She liked to play outside. She liked to, short hair and boys' clothes. And this is how now they're labeling these gender dysphoric or trans kids. Like, this is not gender dysphoria. This is just a little gender bendy, non-conforming. Children are naturally a little queer. And by that, I mean, they don't have a strong attachment to their biological sex because they haven't gone through puberty, right?
Yes,
we used to know these things. We used to understand this as a society and a culture, and it was just not even discussed because, little children being exceptionally affectionate, or little boys acting like a little bit like less boyish because they don't have their testosterone yet. It makes sense. But now they want to medicalize everything and start cutting into these children and turning them into little desexualized automatons that they can, earn medical profit off of for their entire lives. It's disgusting.
What it comes down to is there's two genders and there's an infinite amount of personalities. And
that's a great way to put it. I like that.
What we're seeing with this is that, you're seeing different personality types, and, some girls who are more masculine and have certain personality characteristics that are statistically more likely to appear in men, and vice versa, amongst boys. That's all this is. But now they're taking this and they're running with these multitude of personalities, and it's like, all right, well, you must be in the wrong body now. How the hell did we get here? It's just crazy.
And then there's a drug too that they give to young men who are transitioning male to female, and it's called an anti-androgen. It's a class of drugs, actually, and these drugs cause psychiatric disorders in people that they give them to with a very regular occurrence. It's like in the literature, it's known. And so you're taking these vulnerable people with these vulnerable men who might be gay with other, compounding issues, and you're just going to make their problem worse by giving them these anti-androgens. And like, that video we bring up, It's Ma'am, one of the things, you can have violent, aggressive tendencies on these drugs. Mm-hmm. And I think the It's Ma'am example is a particularly good example of that. We see somebody acting totally irrational. We all see it. We see complete irrationality and exaggerated affect. But, what if that's caused by the chemicals that person is prescribed, that needs to be in the conversation. We need to talk about that, because how are you giving these people with mental problems drugs that are going to make their mental problems worse or introduce new ones?
It's just, I feel like all this is really just a way for the pharmaceutical companies and the medical places to get more money. And it's like, you make these kids have to go get on all these drugs. And then it's like, now you have a customer for life, you know? And then it's just, this is really great. I'm glad that we're having this conversation. I think it's so important. And it's like, it's when we're cutting people up and we're cutting children up, again, I still can't get over the fact that we're ruining people's future orgasms. And that's just totally criminal.
Yeah, no. And I think we were groomed into it in a way as a culture, because we started, just a few short years ago, they were giving, Ritalin and Adderall, which are basically methamphetamine derivatives, to children in order to control their natural, rambunctious, sort of high energy behavior, right?
Yes.
And we started there. You're giving these hard drugs to kids because you want them to fit into a particular mold. Well, here you're doing the same thing. You're giving hard drugs to kids because you're trying to fit them into another little mold. Stop. Why?
I think they wanted to put me on Ritalin when I was in second grade or something.
Oh my God, they put so
my
many
grandma and my aunt were like, nope.
Tens of millions of kids all across the country, they put on these amphetamine derivatives, and they don't tell you that, it can cause psychosis. It can cause...
And the left used to talk about this.
Yeah, exactly. It used to be a major issue on the left. And it was as soon as Trump came along and COVID came along, it's like all of a sudden pharmaceutical companies are our allies now, and we just do whatever they say.
Yeah. I also think we've normalized everybody taking some sort of medication too, because people put it in their bios. It's like proud to be bipolar, proud to be on, all sorts of stuff. And that's what's happening. They're creating customers for life. You take this pill for the rest of your life. I was addicted to Adderall for 5 years. I was addicted to this stuff. And I remember when I stopped taking it when I was 25. And I remember waking up and thinking, am I going to have to take this pill for the rest of my freaking life to function? I would look out my window. I'd watch people walk their dog or something. How do they just get up and not take a pill? And I thought, I was I'm going to have to take a pill for the rest of my freaking life.
My brother struggled with that too. He had an Adderall addiction for a bit.
Their goal is to keep people.
Withdrawal is bad.
Yeah. It's horrible. And so when I think about the fact that, they put little kids on this stuff, it's it is pharmaceutical meth. I was literally cracked out when I was on this, and I was not a normal functioning person without it. It is a miracle. Every day I thank God that I don't have to take anything anymore, but I was heavily addicted to it for 5 years. Wow. And it could have destroyed my whole life.
One of my first roommates in New York, he took Adderall to wake up. He would take a Xanax to come down from the Adderall when he got home. And then he would take what is the sleepy one? Lunestra, or I think it was another pill to go to sleep. So this guy was just totally farmied up. And when I was like, dude, you need to take a pill to wake up, one pill to, to relax from the pill from the wake up, and then another one to go to bed. You don't think there's a problem with that? And he's like, no, this is my doctor. My doctor prescribes it. It's fine. I'm like,
this is something Mike Harlow, who I know you guys are friends with, he's talked about before. He can't even, if he posts anything critical of pharmaceuticals or antidepressants or just how much they're overprescribed, it's the worst pushback, because I think so many people have just sort of accepted that this is a natural thing, that humans need these, that it's not an exception, it's the norm that humans need these. And so I don't know, it's one of the more controversial things he tries to talk about once in a while. And like good luck with that conversation. People get really upset.
It's hard because,
Yeah.
depression and anxiety is a natural response to certain life situations and circumstances. But if you're feeling that chronically all the time, that's not right. But is that not right because, you have damage and it's your life circumstances, or is it not right because, something's wrong in your brain? It's hard to know. And until you have a really good therapist that's going to sit down with you and try to get to the core of your issue, as opposed to somebody who's just going to sit there, give you minimal feedback and then just write you a prescription.
Right.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
You guys, we've almost done 2 hours. Thank
Wow,
you for sticking around with me this long.
It's been
Kind of
great.
flying by.
I'm
talking
so
to you.
happy to meet you two. This has been
Yes.
you guys are awesome.
You have to come on our show. We'll do an episode with
Absolutely.
you. We'll interview you, get your story, see what you're all about. That would be fun.
Just gonna run through a couple more of these super chats. I didn't want to miss you guys. Deranged Lunatic says that guy's a big POS. I don't know now if you were talking about Sam Harris or or Jeffrey Marsh, but
Marsh.
America 76. Thank you for the super chat. Oh, look at that, 1776. So, the
Nice.
Sam Harris clip is analogous to the provable crimes protester being asked, "What provable crimes?" I'm done talking. The literal hive mind in action. Harris devolved into a string of fallacies.
Yeah. So you might want to explain that clip. I don't know if everyone has seen that clip.
Oh,
Brent, you explain it.
Oh, well, we just talked about so basically there's a protester outside of Trump's tower here in New York City after the Roe ruling. And, they were out there protesting Donald Trump and, with the indictments and things, and said something like, the guy was asking, he was being interviewed. And, he was saying stuff like, well, with all the provable crimes of the Trump administration, it's just insane that we can't get some action going here. And the interviewer was like, well, what provable criminal acts are you talking about? And he takes the question. He thinks, provable criminal acts. Well, actually, I'm done talking now. Don't think of any. Nothing is coming to my way.
I don't know. What provable? Isn't that always the case?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy from Kino and Crime gives another super chat. She said, so it's okay if John Wayne Gacy or Dahmer is in politics then, LOL. Oh, wait, Gacy was a high-ranking Democrat. Yes, he was. I don't know if people know that about Gacy. He was really high up in the politics of his local community and I believe in the city, actually. And he was a officer for the local Democratic Party, and he would go door to door and
Creepy. It reminds me of Dennis Hastert, who was Speaker of the House. I believe he was a Republican, but famously caught for, diddling young boys.
there's a lot of creepos.
It's on both sides of the aisle. It's, all up and down.
Pirate Queen says, have you seen the stories on Dan Price, quote, the moral CEO? Another abusive person covered up by the media because he talked the right talk. I don't know who that is.
So he runs this company. I forgot the name of it, but he's considered the nicest CEO in the world.
He became very prominent and popular because there was a study done years back that said $70,000 a year was the salary that really everyone, you once you get that number, you're not happier or you're not any more happier, but that's sort of a bare minimum for your maximum happiness. And so he got, famous because he made sure that everybody in his company was making that bare minimum number, and he took a reduced salary. And then I believe the story coming out now is that there's accusations of sexual impropriety at his company.
Yeah, I didn't look too much
against
into
him himself.
I
So
have to read about this guy.
down apparently.
yeah, the moral of the story is, beware, false prophets, I guess. These people come up and, they seem to be doing a really good thing. And,
He looks like maybe someone you shouldn't trust.
this was in California too, I believe, somewhere.
He looks
Either
like
California
Jesus.
or I forget where his company is. Left coast.
He looks
I
like
think no,
someone
he's
who's
from Seattle. I was Facebook friends with him right before he went popular.
Oh, you knew him, sort of?
I don't know if we knew each other, but we were Facebook friends. So
he looks like someone who's trying to look like Jesus.
Trying to look like Jesus.
There's intent. There's
What?
intent to
What are,
camouflage, right?
what are the accusations?
I
Exactly?
didn't. I just know that there was it was, I think, within the company, and it was of sexual improprietous
Huh.
nature.
Okay, so I'm not going to comment on that now. I'll read about it. I got to talk about it next time. But thank
I saw
you.
his statement the other day, but I didn't look too much into like why he was stepping down. I just saw like, oh shit, he's stepping down. But
Pirate Tomsky for another super chat. Oh, he says, if anything, I try to make sure my disability doesn't define me.
that's what you would want, right?
Yes, you want to overcome your disability. You want to achieve in spite of
it. Yeah.
You know, this is how disabled people approach. They don't celebrate and expect clout from, and like put it in. It's just so weird to me, the whole like neurodivergent thing in order to accumulate, clout. I guess basically is the only way to explain it. Like, why else would you brag about a disability? I don't.
Oh, it gives you identity status points
to be looked at as special.
Yeah, like the sorority Lila was talking about. Then it became popular to do it. You get status points now. They're doing it.
Yeah.
But
is that genuine? Are they genuinely inviting disabled people into their sorority because they actually care, or is it just to get the freaking woke?
It's like a motto. Yeah. They don't change. Well, some people can change on the inside. I think a lot of people can.
Yeah.
But when a sorority changes that fast in 2 years, I don't buy that they had some change of heart about disabled people being in the sorority. I think it was just, well, now it's culturally popular, whereas before it was culturally mocked, when they're just trying to keep up with the Joneses now.
Yes, I love that term.
Night Train for $5 says, Lila's 31. Who was born in 82? I'm an 81er. Love your stuff. All of you. We need to be able to joke about anything, anytime. Got to be realistic.
Yep. Brent was born in 82.
Yeah, no, I was going to say Night Train too, familiar chatter. He's seen him in the chat on our channel too, I think, as well as Mr. ADL and Zero Red Fox.
Zero Red Fox.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Went through a phase of gender dysphoria as well as anthropomorphism. For me, it boiled down to attachment issues, see the psychology of social family attachment, and the self-hatred that came from that.
Very interesting.
And
yeah.
Insightful. There's a lot of people. Tracy, she says also a lesbian was and still a tomboy. There are masculine girls and effeminate boys. It's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, like let those little kids be, femmy boys or butch girls. Like,
they're not in the wrong body. That is not a thing. Kids aren't born in the wrong body. There aren't trans kids.
Why you want to cut up a kid because you think don't cut up the kids. Like,
did you guys see Billboard Chris went on Tucker Carlson?
Yes, I didn't see it, but I heard. I saw he
perfect summary. It was like 3 minutes. And Chris really just
he nailed it. He was great. I thought it was great.
He's got his whole bit down to a T, memorized off the top of his head.
He's a professional. This is what he does professionally.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. Thank you, Gay Rascal, for supporting the show. Gives a super chat and says, I don't know what that currency is, gay. It's gay money. He's $4.99.
Those are
euros. The euro. Misgendering among gay men has a long history, including female names. In my scene days, I was known as Gigi. Gays and musicals, am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, we call each other girl and queen, and it's a normal thing in the culture. And it's now can we do that? What if we do that? Are the woke gay men gonna get mad at us now because we misgendered them?
When I was young,
your culture is being hijacked by this.
Yes,
totally.
And it's gonna be a huge backlash. Can I share what might be controversial with some of my viewers with you guys? Because I think so. Last night, one of my you haven't seen somebody on Facebook in a while, and for some reason one of their posts pops up in your feed. So one of my old friends I knew in my old life, who is my favorite drag queen. See, this is where I'm going to get some of my audience is like, no, drag queens. We're in this backlash now, right? Drag queens weren't always being pushed on kids. Drag queens used to be a kind of comedy and adult, and sometimes some of them were more sexier, but there was a lot of comedy involved. And someone from my old life popped up in my feed, and I didn't know if you guys knew this drag queen, so I just want to show you. Do you guys know Dina Martina?
Dina Martina.
Not off the top of my head.
Not familiar. No.
Oh my gosh! Let me show you. She's still doing her thing. I think I like her so much because it's absolute. It's like the opposite. It's not trying to be real or to be sexy or to be It's not marketed towards kids. She's like this.
That's a look.
She's like this, pretends to be this terrible kind of boomer, famous celebrity who, and in her bio, it's all like, world famous with no talent and a face that looks like she fell in a Shoney's diner. And like, she actually wears a neck brace on stage a lot.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah, the makeup is awful. And just actually this guy, he's Grady. He's just a really funny comedian, and drag is like the way that he portrays these, like this really funny character.
Yeah.
And I was just scrolling through and I just started cracking up, because now I'm like, at some point people are going to be like, even, oh, you can't even laugh at like Dina Martina or something, because of this backlash that's happening. And I understand why it's happening, but anyway.
No, the nuance is important. We can be
Yes.
we can say, hey, drag isn't for kids. Kids need to stay out of these events and out of these spaces. And we could also say, like, hey, drag is funny and it's hilarious and it's bawdy, and go see a drag show and fucking have fun. Like, go have a steak dinner at Lips or something. Like,
yeah.
We're just saying, leave the kids out of it, and let's not cut off people's nipples. Okay, that's all we're saying here.
That's a good note to end on, I think.
We need our nipples.
We need our nipples. Don't cut your nipples off, please.
Should that be the title for today, Lila?
We need our nipples.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I had so much fun.
It's a pleasure.
You guys go and check out Lila's site, and I'm going to put it up on the screen. Pirate was gracious enough to drop it in the chat. It's also in the description of the video below. You can find Lila. Why don't you tell us? I've got it up there.
LilaHart.com, and be sure to check out the American History of Voter Fraud that is on my YouTube channel. And I just want to say again, I'm so happy all three of you exist in this world. I'm so glad to meet you and to talk to you, and I really enjoyed being on today's podcast. It was really lovely to talk to you guys. It's just great to have these conversations, it's important. So keep doing the great work that you're doing. We need it.
Thanks, Lila. And again, we'd love to have you on Dangerous Rhetoric. So we'll shoot you a DM and we'll set something up.
I'm following all three of the channels.
And then Dangerous Rhetoric, tell us where people can find you. Pirate put up your link tree.
We're on YouTube, Dangerous Rhetoric. It comes up with a search, and you can go to dangerousrhetoric.com. We're on Rumble. We're on TikTok,
Twitter,
Instagram, Twitter.
If we ever vanish off of those places, though, you can just
always find us the website.
Yeah, just go to dangerousrhetoric.com, and it has the links to the YouTube and the Twitter and all that stuff on there. So
you guys are so close to your 1,000. You're at 897.
We're so close. Come on, guys, get us to 1,000. Go,
you guys. Go sub to Dangerous Rhetoric.
We've been doing this like a year and a half now, and it's been a very...
I will subscribe right now.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Doing this.
And then when you get to 1,000, you have to have your monetization and then your demonetization party.
That's
right.
That's what's gonna happen.
So,
you're at 898 now. I just subscribed.
Killing it.
Love to see it.
Thank you guys. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. Take care.
Take care, everyone.
Yes. Bye.